Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. And today in Houston, the live studios at Radha Lane, we got this huge thunderstorm going on outside. So I was giving a little extra time for devotees to brave the storm to come. But still, some devotees are here. So we're so lucky. Hear and chant under all conditions, and that's the test. That's the test. Krishna likes us to hear and chant under any conditions. So welcome aboard, all of you out in cyberspace. Okay, let's hear together and chant together the beautiful prayer from the Sri Krishna Lila Stava of Srila Sanatana Goswami, who was some more braving the storm, some more storm, what do they call them? Stormtroopers. We got a lot of stormtroopers. We call them the orange berets, the ones that are in saffron. Lord Chaitanya's orange berets. They're the special forces. They go out under any conditions, and here another stormtrooper is coming. One of the orange berets. Thank you very much, Rasika. And you got a taste of American Sankirtan today. Going to American downtown city. A little different than London. Yeah. London's one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the world, if not the most cosmopolitan city in the world. Okay, so Srila Sanatana Goswami, that deep, senior, learned, they call him Lord Chaitanya call him the Siddhanta Acharya. He spent more time teaching him the whole philosophy than he did anyone else. Although he taught, Rupa Goswami, he spent time with him, especially focusing on the rasa aspect of Krishna consciousness. But Sanatana Goswami got the most teaching. Therefore, in the teachings of Sanatana Goswami and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll see it's the biggest of any one person. More chapters, more subjects, he covered everything. Okay, now he wrote this Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotra to glorify the Srimad-Bhagavatam as one of his obeisances to the Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna. So it goes like this. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar of the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidvan Doditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madekabando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Mandistakar Madbhagya Madanandanamostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin atini chochatakara hanamun shakadachinmam premnaret kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, finally, Bhakta Chris is back. Bhakta Chris, welcome. Nice to see you after a few years. I can imagine that you're like, yeah, unplugging, yeah, lots of living parts, loose ends here being tightened up here and there. Anyway, it's so nice to see you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay. The deliverance of Bali Maharaj. He is speaking. This is the 22nd chapter of the 8th canto, and he's been arrested by Bhamanadev. Of course, it'll turn out to be an affectionate arrest, but still, externally, it looks like he's been arrested. And he's praying to the Lord in this condition. Beginning with text 8. My grandfather, Prahlad Maharaj, is famous. 6? Oh, sorry. My fact checker. We got a fact checker over here. He's doing his job. Thank you. Many demons. Oh, wait. I've got my brew here. It's supposed to save my voice. Thank you, Nangamanjari. This is supposed to save my voice, so I don't mind. Cheers. Cheers. Hare Krishna. Down the hatch. As they say in the somewhere. Navy? Down the hatch. Oh.
Yeah.
Mm.
How is it?
Mm. I had this wonderful Chinese meal today. So I couldn't invite everybody.
We got remnants.
What?
We had remnants.
Did you?
Yes, we
Oh.
did.
Oh. There are mothers, no doubt about it. Jai Shri Anangamanjari. Okay. Well, it's verse 6 instead of verse 8, but it's still Bali Maharaj speaking to Vamana Dev. Many demons who were continuously inimical toward you finally achieved the perfection of great mystic yogis. Your lordship can perform one work to serve many purposes, and consequently, although you have punished me in many ways, I do not feel ashamed of having been arrested by the ropes of Varuna, nor do I feel aggrieved. Purport. Bali Maharaj appreciated the Lord's mercy not only upon him, but upon many other demons. Because this mercy is liberally distributed, the Supreme Lord is called all-merciful. Bali Maharaj was indeed a fully surrendered devotee, but even some demons, who were not at all devotees, but merely enemies of the Lord, attained the same exalted position achieved by many mystic yogis. Thus Bali Maharaj could understand that the Lord had some hidden purpose in punishing him. Consequently, he was neither unhappy nor ashamed because of the awkward position in which he had been put by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 8. My grandfather, Tamal Baba, has returned. Okay, Hare Krishna. He's our Prahlad Maharaj. My grandfather Prahlad Maharaj is famous, being recognized by all your devotees. Although harassed in many ways by his father, Hiranyakashipu, he still remained faithful, taking shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. A pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj, although harassed circumstantially in many ways, never gives up the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to take shelter of anyone else. A pure devotee never complains against the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna Bhakti, Dr. Damodar. A vivid example is Prahlad Maharaj. Examining the life of Prahlad Maharaj, we can see how severely he was harassed by his own father, Hiranyakashipu, yet he did not divert his attention from the Lord even to the smallest extent. Bali Maharaj, following in the footsteps of his grandfather Prahlad Maharaj, remained fixed in his devotion to the Lord, despite the Lord's having punished him. Text 10. Text 9, excuse me. What is the use of the material body, which automatically leaves its owner at the end of life? And what is the use of all one's family members, who are actually plunderers, taking away money that is useful for the service of the Lord in spiritual opulence? What is the use of a wife? She is only the source of increasing material conditions. And what is the use of family, home, country, and community? Attachment for them merely wastes the valuable energy of one's lifetime. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, advises Sarvadharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. Give up all other varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. The common man does not appreciate such a statement by the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he thinks that during his lifetime, his family, society, country, body, and relatives are everything. Why should one give up any one of them and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? But from the behavior of great personalities like Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, we understand that surrendering to the Lord is the right action for an intelligent person. Prahlad Maharaj took shelter of Vishnu against the will of his father. Similarly, Bali Maharaj took shelter of Vamanadeva against the will of his spiritual master, Shukracharya, and all the leading demons. People may be surprised that devotees like Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj could seek shelter of the side of the enemy, giving up the natural affinity for family, hearth, and home. In this connection, Bali Maharaj explains that the body, which is the center of all material activities, is also a foreign element. That's a foreign element, the body. In other parts, Prabhupada describes it to be a disease. The material body is a diseased condition of the soul. Even though we want to keep the body fit and helpful to our activities, the body cannot continually exist. Although I am the soul, which is eternal, after using the body for some time, I have to accept another body, tata, dihantara praptir. According to the laws of, it'll record. I wonder if anybody can see me. If not,
We can see you look spooky.
spooky? I get one of those flashlights. Thick and thin, we deliver the mail. Rain, shine, sleet, electricity, no electricity. Okay. Although I am the soul, which is eternal, after using the body for some time, I have to accept another body, tata dihantara prapti, according to the laws of nature, unless I render some service with the body for advancement in devotional service. One should not use the body for any other purpose. One must know that if he uses the body for any other purpose, he is simply wasting time. For as soon as the time is ripe, the soul will automatically leave the body. We are very interested in society, friendship, and love, but what are they? Those in the garb of friends and relatives merely plunder the hard-earned money of the bewildered soul. Everyone is affectionate toward his wife and is attached to her. But what is this wife? The wife is called Stri, which means one who expands the material condition. If a person lives without a wife, his material conditions are less extensive also. Freudian slip. Extensive. Only one letter. Yep. As soon as one marries and is connected with the wife, his material necessities increase. Pungsastriya mituni bhavametam tayor mito hridaya grantimahu ato grihat chetra sutapta bitayar janasya moho yamahambameti. The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. Srimad-Bhagavatam 5.5.8. Human life is meant for self-realization, not for increasing unwanted things. Actually, a wife increases unwanted things. One's lifetime, one's home, and everything one has, if not properly used in the service of the Lord, are all sources of material conditions, of perpetual suffering under the threefold miseries. Adyatma, for education on this subject. People are kept in darkness. What? What use is your eyes if you don't have light, you can't see? Maybe we could open these. Open that. You have to move the couch, probably.
Oh, I got it here.
Yeah, there you go. That'll help a little. A little.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's something. It's not nothing. What?
Oh, that's right. I took a
The shadows on the wall. It's Socrates' or Plato's cave. Right?
That's your bird.
You put it, but that's to do Halloween, you know. Put it under your chin and make a face. Okay. Unfortunately, there is no institution in human society for education on this subject, except for the Krishna consciousness movement. People are kept in darkness about the goal of life, and thus there is a continuous struggle for existence. We speak of survival of the fittest, but no one survives. For no one is free under material conditions. You hear this in newspaper articles, you know, the death rate was 10% or 50%, like some kind of war or, you know, pestilence or something. And actually the death rate is 100%. So it's misleading. This is misleading information. Text 10. The Bhagavatam tells it like it is. Always. Like it or not. Text 10. My grandfather, the best of all men, who achieved unlimited knowledge and was worshipable for everyone, was afraid of the common men in this world. Being fully convinced of the substantiality afforded by shelter at your lotus feet, he took shelter of your lotus feet against the will of his father and demoniac friends who were killed by your own self. Text 11. Only by providence have I been forcibly brought under your lotus feet and deprived of all my opulence. Because of the illusion created by temporary opulence, people in general who live under material conditions, facing accidental death at every moment, do not understand that this life is temporary. Only by providence have I been saved from that condition. Purport. Bali Maharaj appreciated the actions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although all the members of the demoniac families except Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj considered Vishnu their eternal, traditional enemy. As described by Bali Maharaj, Lord Vishnu was actually not the enemy of the family, but the best friend of the family. The principle of this friendship has already been stated. Yasyaham anugrinami harishe taddanam shanahi. The Lord bestows special favor upon his devotee by taking away all his material opulences. Bali Maharaj appreciated this behavior by the Lord. Therefore he said, Daivina nitak prasabam tyajita sri. It is to bring me to the right platform of eternal life you will put me into these circumstances. Actually, everyone should fear the so-called society, friendship, and love for which he works so hard all day and night. As indicated by Bali Maharaj by the words Janad Bitak, every devotee in Krishna consciousness should always be afraid of the common man engaged in pursuing material prosperity. Such a person is described as pramata, a madman chasing the will-o'-the-wisp. Such men do not know that after a hard struggle for life, one must change his body with no certainty of what kind of body he will receive next. Those who are completely established in Krishna consciousness philosophy, those who are completely established in Krishna conscious philosophy and who therefore understand the aim of life will never take to the activities of the materialistic dog race, rat race, some kind of race. But if a sincere devotee somehow does fall down, the Lord corrects him and saves him from gliding down to the darkest region of hellish life. Adanta gobir vishatam tamishram punak punas charvita charvananam. Bhagavatam 7:5-30. The materialistic way of life is nothing but the repeated chewing of that which has already been chewed. Although there is no profit in such a life, people are enamored of it because of uncontrolled senses. Nunam pramatak kurute pikarma. Because of uncontrolled senses, people fully engage in sinful activities by which they get a body full of suffering. Bali Maharaj appreciated how the Lord had saved him from such a bewildered life of ignorance. He therefore said that his intelligence had been stunned. Stabda matir nabudyate. He could not understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead favors his devotees by forcibly stopping their materialistic activities. Text 12. Shukadev Goswami said, O best of the Kurus, while Bali Maharaj was describing his fortunate position in this way, the most dear devotee of the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj, appeared there. The moon, like the moon, rising in the night time. Text 13. Then Bali Maharaj saw his grandfather, Prahlad Maharaj, the most fortunate personality, whose dark body resembled black ointment for the eyes. His tall, elegant figure was dressed in yellow garments. He had long arms, and his beautiful eyes were like petals of a lotus. He was very dear and pleasing. And we got some directors here producing this movie with a cell phone light going through a bottle of water, transparent. Anyway, it was a good try. Anyway, nice try. Aspiring movie directors, here we are. I'll do this translation again. Then Bali Maharaj saw his grandfather, Prahlad Maharaj, the most fortunate personality. Here we get one of the rare descriptions of Prahlad Maharaj as an older person. It's very rare. Please hear this with relish. We're hearing the description of Prahlad Maharaj as an adult, old man. Then Bali Maharaj saw his grandfather, Prahlad Maharaj, the most fortunate personality, whose dark body resembled black ointment for the eyes. His tall, elegant figure was dressed in yellow garments. He had long arms, and his beautiful eyes were like petals of a lotus. He was very dear and pleasing to everyone. Sounds like Krishna. Mm-hmm. Text 14. Being bound by the ropes of Varuna, Bali Maharaj could not offer befitting respect to Prahlad Maharaj as he had before. Rather, he simply offered respectful obeisances with his head, his eyes being inundated with tears and his face lowered in shame. Purport. Since Bali Maharaj had been arrested by Lord Vamanadev, he was certainly to be considered an offender. Bali Maharaj seriously felt that he was an offender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Certainly Prahlad Maharaj would not like this. Therefore Bali Maharaj was ashamed and hung his head. Text 15. The great souls are teaching us how to act in all circumstances. Translation. When the great personality Prahlad Maharaj saw that the Supreme Lord was sitting there, surrounded and worshipped by his intimate associates like Sunanda, he was overwhelmed with tears of jubilation. Approaching the Lord and falling to the ground, he offered obeisances to the Lord with his head. Text 16. Prahlad Maharaj said, "My Lord, it is your Lordship who gave this Bali the very great opulence of the post of heavenly king, and now today it is you who have taken it all away. I think you have acted with equal beauty in both ways. Because his exalted position as King of Heaven was putting him in the darkness of ignorance, you have done him a great merciful favor by taking away all his opulence." Purport. As it is said, Yasyaham anugrinami harishe tadanam shanahi. Srimad-Bhagavatam 10:88-8. It is by the mercy of the Lord that one gets all material opulence. But if such material opulence causes one to become puffed up and forget the process of self-realization, the Lord certainly takes all the opulence away. The Lord bestows mercy upon his devotee by helping him find out his constitutional position. For that purpose, the Lord is always ready to help the devotee in every way. But material opulence is sometimes dangerous because it diverts one's attention to false prestige by giving one the impression that he is the owner and master of everything he surveys, although actually this is not the fact. To protect the devotee from such a misunderstanding, the Lord, showing special mercy, sometimes takes away his material possessions. Yasyaham anugrinami harishe tadanam chanahi. Text 17. Material opulence is so bewildering that it makes even a learned, self-controlled man forget to search for the goal of self-realization. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, the Lord of the universe, can see everything by his will. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Purport. The words Ko vichaste gatim atmano yata indicate that when one is puffed up by the false prestige of possessing material opulence, he certainly neglects the goal of self-realization. This is the position of the modern world. Because of so-called scientific improvements in material opulence, people have entirely given up the path of self-realization. Practically no one is interested in God, one's relationship with God, or how one should act. Modern men have altogether forgotten such questions because they are mad for material possessions. If this kind of civilization continues, the time will soon come when the Supreme Personality of Godhead will take away all the material opulences. Then people will come to their senses. When I was reading this, I just pictured, here we are in a cave, and there's no light, and what if this stopped and everything? But we're here hearing somehow or other. I mean, maybe we have the opulence of having a backlit screen or something, but even if that wasn't there, we have candles placed everywhere, we would still hear the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and be happy and be safe. Text 18. Shukadev Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, Lord Brahma then began to speak to the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the hearing of Prahlad Maharaj, who stood nearby with folded hands. So Brahma is going to speak. Text 19. But Bali Maharaj's chaste wife, afraid and aggrieved at seeing her husband arrested, immediately offered obeisances to Lord Vamanadev, Upendra. She folded her hands and spoke as follows. Purport. Although Brahma was speaking, he had to stop for a while because Bali Maharaj's wife, Binjabali, who was very agitated and afraid, wanted to say something. Ladies first. Text 20. Srimati Binjabali said, O my Lord, you have created the entire universe for the enjoyment of your personal pastimes, but foolish, unintelligent men have claimed proprietorship for material enjoyment. Certainly, they are shameless agnostics. Falsely claiming proprietorship, they think they can give charity and enjoy. In such a condition, what good can they do for you, who are the independent creator, maintainer, and annihilator of this universe? Purport. Bali Maharaja's wife, who was most intelligent, supported the arrest of her husband and accused him of having no intelligence. Who said women are less intelligent? This is the example that says that all those statements in the Bhagavatam about women being less intelligent are about non-devotee women. Because as soon as a woman becomes a devotee, actually a pure devotee, she becomes most intelligent. And sometimes even more intelligent than her husband, who in this case happened to be a Mahajan. Just to make the ladies feel good in the room. It's true. Purport. Bali Maharaja's wife, who was most intelligent, supported the arrest of her husband and accused him of having no intelligence because he had claimed proprietorship of the property of the Lord. Such a claim is a sign of demoniac life. Although the demigods, who are officials appointed by the Lord for management, are attached to materialistic enjoyment, they never claim to be proprietors of the universe, for they know that the actual proprietor of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the qualification of the demigods. But the demons, instead of accepting the exclusive proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, claim the property of the universe for themselves through demarcations of nationalism. This part is mine, and that part is yours, they say. This part I can give in charity, and this part I can keep for my enjoyment. These are all demoniac conceptions. This is described in Bhagavad Gita 16:13. Idam adya maya labdam imam prapsye manoratham. Thus far I have acquired so much money and land, now I have to add more and more. In this way I shall be the greatest proprietor of everything. Who can compete with me? These are all demoniac conceptions. Bali Maharaja's wife accused Bali Maharaj by saying that although the Supreme Personality of Godhead had arrested him, showing him extraordinary mercy, and although Bali Maharaj was offering his body to the Supreme Lord for the Lord's third step, he was still in the darkness of ignorance. Actually, the body did not belong to him. But because of his long-standing demoniac mentality, he could not understand. Oh, that wasn't so long-standing after all. This is so interesting, you know. This is so interesting. I got to read this from the beginning again, this purport, or this paragraph. This is so interesting. Bali Maharaja's wife accused Bali Maharaj by saying that although the Supreme Personality of Godhead had arrested him, showing him extraordinary mercy, and although Bali Maharaj was offering his body to the Supreme Lord for the Lord's third step, he was still in the darkness of ignorance. Actually, the body did not belong to him. But because of his long-standing demoniac mentality, he could not understand this. He thought that since he had been defamed for his inability to fulfill his promise of charity, and since the body belonged to him, he would free himself from defamation by offering his body. Actually, however, the body does not belong to anyone but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whom the body is given. Whew. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1861, Ishwarak Sarvabhutanam Riddhisher Junatishtati Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Rudani Mayaya. The Lord is situated in the core of everyone's heart, and according to the material desires of the living entity, the Lord offers a particular type of machine, the body, through the agency of the material energy. The body actually does not belong to the living entity. It belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Under the circumstances, how could Bali Maharaj claim that the body belonged to him? Thus, Binjabali, Bali Maharaja's intelligent wife, prayed that her husband be released by the Lord's causeless mercy. Otherwise, Bali Maharaj was nothing but a shameless demon, specifically described as Tyaktva Hriyas Twad Avaropita Katri Vardaha, a foolish person claiming proprietorship over the property of the Supreme Person. In the present age, Kali Yuga, the number of such shameless men who are agnostics, disbelieving in the existence of God, has increased. Trying to defy the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so-called scientists, philosophers, and politicians manufacture plans and schemes for the destruction of the world. They cannot do anything good for the world. And unfortunately, because of Kali Yuga, they have plunged the affairs of the world into mismanagement. I mean, how eloquent was that?
Beautiful.
For the exact condition that we're in, especially today. They cannot do anything good. I'll read this again. Would you mind? Anybody mind if I said this, heard this? Yeah, this is nice. Trying to defy the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so-called scientists, philosophers, and politicians. And you might always add the word religionists, evangelicals, right, of America. Trying to defy the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so-called scientists, philosophers, and politicians manufacture plans and schemes for the destruction of the world. They cannot do anything good for the world. And unfortunately, because of Kali Yuga, They have plunged the affairs of the world into mismanagement. Thus, there is a great need for the Krishna consciousness movement for the benefit of innocent people who are being carried away by propaganda of such demons. Wow, Prabhupada. If the present status quo is allowed to continue, people will certainly suffer more and more under the leadership of these demoniac agnostics. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vamanadev ki jai. The wife of Bali Maharaj, Vinjanani ki jai. She gave the sauce there, boy. She gave the sauce to everybody. There you go. Lord Brahma, 21. Lord Brahma said, now Brahma was interrupted, and what we heard from her was probably more profound than what he's going to say, I would say. Anyway, let's hear what he has to say. Lord Brahma said, O well-wisher and master of all living entities, O worshipable deity of all the demigods, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, now this man has been sufficiently punished, for you have taken everything. Now you can release him. He does not deserve to be punished more. Purport. When Lord Brahma saw that Prahlad Maharaj and Vinjavali had already approached the Lord to ask mercy for Bali Maharaj, he joined them and recommended Bali Maharaj's release on the grounds of worldly calculations. So this is the way that devotees support other devotees. We should learn from this, that devotees support other devotees, even when they're in very difficult situations. Text 22. Bali Maharaj has already offered everything to your lordship. Without hesitation, he has offered his land, the planets, and whatever else he earned by his pious activities, including even his own body. Text 23. By offering even water, newly grown grass, or flower buds at your lotus feet, those who maintain no mental duplicity can achieve the most exalted position within the spiritual world. I think I have to read that again also. Would you mind?
Please.
Would anybody mind? Okay. Oh, all right. By offering even water, newly grown grass, or flower buds at your lotus feet, those who maintain no mental duplicity can achieve the most exalted position within the spiritual world. This Bali Maharaj, without duplicity, has now offered everything in the three worlds. How then can he deserve to suffer from arrest? Now I heard something from Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, very interesting. He was talking about the residents of Vaikuntha. And the residents of Vaikuntha, every single one of them, not just the leaders, but every single one of them has all of the opulences of the Lord at their disposal forever. So that gives even more deeper meaning to this verse. I'll read it again. By offering even water, newly grown grass, or flower buds at your lotus feet, those who maintain no mental duplicity can achieve the most exalted position within the spiritual world. This Bali Maharaj, without duplicity, has now offered everything in the three worlds. How then can he deserve to suffer from arrest? Purport. So if we just offer little anything, of course if you have a lot to offer, then you should offer a lot. Not that you offer little and have a lot for yourself. But that's what duplicity means. You have a lot and you offer just a little to the Lord. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 9:26 it is stated, Patram pushpam palam toyam yomi bhaktya priyachati tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is so kind that if an unsophisticated person with devotion and without duplicity offers at the lotus feet of the Lord a little water, a flower, a leaf, fruit or leaf, the Lord accepts it. Then the devotee is promoted to Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. Brahma drew the Lord's attention to this subject and requested that he release Bali Maharaj, who was suffering, being bound by the ropes of Varuna, and who had already given everything, including the three worlds and whatever he possessed. When Gopakumar, as he was traveling and making advancement, came to the abode of Vaikuntha, the Vaikuntha Dutas who had taken him there, they left him at the gateway and then went inside to get permission so he could enter. And while he was waiting, he saw all these persons. And as soon as he saw one of them, he would bow down and worship them, because they looked just like Vishnu, and their opulences that were surrounding them were all like Vishnu's. And when he was offering his obeisance and calling the person Vishnu, he would run away, going, no, I'm not Vishnu. And then he would, and then he was confused, he did, So that means that all the residents of Vaikuntha, they have unlimited opulence. And the Brajvasis, they have an even more opulence. Because Braj is the source of all opulence. So even though they're seemingly village people, all the things that they have are of the topmost quality. The bricks that they use to build their houses are all chintamani, more valuable than the most valuable jewels in the material world. One particle of dust in Braj is worth all of the opulence in all of the universes put together. Text 24. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Lord Brahma, because of material opulence, a foolish person becomes dull-witted and mad. Thus, he has no respect for anyone within the three worlds and defies even my authority. To such a person, I show special favor by first taking away all his possessions." That was the Supreme Lord talking to Lord Brahma in response. Purport. A civilization that has become godless because of material advancement in opulence is extremely dangerous. Because of great opulence, a materialist becomes so proud that he has no regard for anyone and even refuses to accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The result of such a mentality is certainly very dangerous. To show special favor, the Lord sometimes makes an example of someone like Bali Maharaj, who was now bereft of all his possessions. Text 25. While rotating in the cycle of birth and death again and again, in different species, because of his own fruitive activities, the dependent living entity, by good fortune, may happen to become a human being. This human birth is very rarely obtained. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is fully independent. Thus, it is not always a fact that a living being's loss of all opulence is a sign of the Supreme Lord's mercy upon him. Let's repeat that again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is fully independent. Thus, it is not always a fact that a living being's loss of all opulence is a sign of the Supreme Lord's mercy upon him. The Lord can act any way he likes. He may take away one's opulence or he may not. There are varieties of forms of life, and the Lord treats them according to the circumstances, as he chooses. Generally, it is to be understood that the human form of life is one of great responsibility. Purushak prakritisto hi bhunkte prakritijan gunan karanam gunasangosya sarasad yonijanmasu. The living entity in material nature follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil amongst various species. Bhagavad Gita 13:22. After thus rotating through many, many forms of life in the cycle of birth and death, the living entity gets a chance for a human form. Therefore, every human being, especially one belonging to a civilized nation or culture, must be extremely responsible in his activities. He should not risk degradation in the next life, because the body will change. Tatadi hantara praptir. We should be extremely careful. To see to the proper use of life is the purpose of Krishna consciousness. Again, to see to the proper use of life is the purpose of Krishna consciousness. The foolish living entity declares freedom from all control, but factually is not free. He is fully under the control of material nature. He must therefore be most careful and responsible in the activities of his life. Text 26. If a human being is born in an aristocratic family or a higher status of life, if he performs wonderful activities, if he is youthful, if he has personal beauty, a good education, and good wealth, and if he is nonetheless not proud of his opulences, it is to be understood that he is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. When in spite of possessing all these opulences, a person is not proud, this means that he is fully aware that all his opulences are due to the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He therefore engages all his possessions in the service of the Lord. A devotee knows very well that everything, even his body, belongs to the Supreme Lord. If one lives perfectly in such Krishna consciousness, it is to be understood that he is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conclusion is that one being deprived of his wealth is not to be considered the special mercy of the Lord. If one continues his opulent position, but does not become unnecessarily proud, falsely thinking that he is the proprietor of everyone, this is the Lord's special mercy. So he takes everything away, and then when one's attested, then he gives everything back. And ultimately himself. Text 27. Although aristocratic birth and other such opulences are impediments to advancement in devotional service because they are causes of false prestige and pride, these opulences never disturb a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Devotees like Dhruva Maharaj, who was given unlimited material opulence, have the special mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Once Kuvera wanted to give Dhruva Maharaj a benediction, but although Dhruva Maharaj could have asked him for any amount of material opulence, he instead begged Kuvera that he might continue his devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a devotee is fixed in his devotional service, there is no need for the Lord to deprive him of his material opulences. Let me repeat that again. When a devotee is fixed in his devotional service, there is no need for the Lord to deprive him of his material opulences. The Supreme Personality of Godhead never takes away material opulences achieved because of devotional service, although he sometimes takes away opulences achieved by pious activities. He does this to make a devotee prideless, or put him in a better position in devotional service. If a special devotee is meant for preaching, but does not give up his family life or material opulences to take to the service of the Lord surely takes away his material opulence. This is Prabhupada talking about himself. I got to read this again. This is Prabhupada's ecstasy here. If a special devotee is meant for preaching, but does not give up his family life or material opulences to take to the service of the Lord surely takes away his material opulences and establishes him in devotional service. Thus, the pure devotee becomes fully engaged in propagating Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. So we'll stop our readings tonight. That's 7:32. Even though dark or light, rain or shine, continuing to hear the glories of the Lord. And this last part was extremely instructive. So let's place the obligation to the audience. It's time for open mic session. Anything that you heard that stuck in your mind, and I'm sure there's lots of things that you heard stuck in your mind. Maybe you're too bewildered by hearing it or overwhelmed, you won't be able to speak anything. But anyway, you going? Give me a little. See ya. Tamal, Gopal, Baba. Yes, Pranahari.
I guess comment and question.
Oh, you can see something.
My comment is about the mental duplicity one in that one verse. How it's basically, my understanding was that when one says and acts on the outside one way, but on the inside is a different way. This is mental duplicity, and one has to be devoid of that to actually surrender to the Lord really. Is this correct?
Well, it's partially correct, because one can act one way outside, one way inside, and outside look like he's not doing the right thing, but inside doing it for the right motive. But if what he's doing from the outside is harmful, then it can be seen to be, duplicitous. There's a nice verse in the Gita that talks about this. Karmendriyani samyamya yaaste manasas smaran indriyartan vimudatma mityachara suuchate. So this mityachara suuchate means pretending. So it defines, he defines, Karmendriyani samyamya, outside you're acting like you're renounced. But Karmendriyani samyamya yaaste manasa smaran. But inside you're always looking for the objects of the senses. And you're using your position of renunciation in order to get things and manipulate people and this and that. Then Indriyarta vimudatma, that person is self-deluded. The word mudatma in this context means one deludes oneself by that mentality. And then mityachara suuchate becomes pretender. But if a person's acting one way inside and the other way outside, but what he's doing outside is actually correct in service to the Lord, and inside he may have some other thing going on, but actually it's beneficial for the Lord and for everyone else, it may not be, duplicity. If his ultimate intention and his activities are actually beneficial for the Lord in devotional service. That particularly means if one is, pretending to be a devotee or pretending to be renounced, but for the purpose of looking for aggrandizement, for looking for opulence, for looking for things like that. So there probably is a position in which you could be thinking one thing and doing another, but it's not necessarily duplicitous, because both could be acting in the favor of the Lord. Yes.
I had a question.
Yes.
You heard that nice section about how messed up the modern Kali Yuga civilization is.
Yeah.
Due to the so-called philosophers, politicians, and all these people, and the mismanagement. And often Prabhupada makes the case about how in Kali Yuga there's demoniac forces that are basically in the leadership positions of the world. And this sounds somewhat, to some people, this might sound like a conspiracy theory. That, this conspiracy theory is saying there's like these type of aliens in charge of this and that, and Prabhupada's saying this thing, and that they're kind of in the same ballpark. Would you be able to give us some clear vision on how Prabhupada is not propagating conspiracy theories?
Well, conspiracy theory can be negative or positive. If you acknowledge that the material energy is conspiring against us to make us forget Krishna, and by knowing about that we can come to Krishna, then what's wrong with that conspiracy theory? That's okay, as long as it results in pure devotional service. I think that might fit into what... No. Anyway. But conspiracy theory means that the negative side of conspiracy theory is you're making up, you're imagining that there's some conspiracy going on that's causing us to be, manipulated by some people who are, getting all the resources and just making everyone else, be bereft or suffer. So, ultimately, the material energy is being conducted by Krishna. Maya Jakshana Prakriti Suyase Chara Charam. So you can say that's, an accurate description, but it's not against our interest. It's for our good, The parent sometimes may trick the child into taking medicine and tell him, look, this is a candy, and it's actually medicine, and he puts something on the medicine to make it taste sweeter or something like that. And you can say he's cheating the child, Or, the child gets a $100 bill in his hand, and he's about ready to rip it up. So he gives him, something that's worthless, but sparkling and attractive to the kid. I'll trade you this for this. Nothing, a marble or, this or that, and then, you take the $100, just cheating the child, say that's conspiracy theory. But that's not the real thing. The real thing is that Krishna is got our own interests at heart, even though he's allowing us this whole material existence and all the opulences and all the bodies and the different bodies, and to experience all different kinds of things and enjoy, try to enjoy in this material world. But ultimately it's meant for our liberation, to teach us properly. I think that's the argument that would try to equate, the Krishna conscious philosophy with some kind of, conspiracy theory. It's for our benefit, for our ultimate benefit. Whereas the conspiracy theories are all based on some evil, group of small band of men, which are trying to control the whole world and get everything for themselves, and to hell with everyone else, So the proof is that Krishna comes, himself, and extends himself in so many different ways, and we're reading about it. How Krishna extends himself in so many ways in the material world to try to help us come back to him and live, full of opulence and full of pleasure and eternally.
Thank you so much for that.
Hare Krishna.
I
think Bhakti Chris has got something. Something?
Yes, I would love to mention two little things. One in particular, I think was my highlight of the night, is when it spoke about the mark of true intelligence being knowing that your body belongs to Krishna, and that it is created from Krishna, it will return to Krishna. And the mark of true intelligence is to just know that, because that's a big knowing. To go into that is breaking through the gateway of materialistic pride. This is my body, this is my arm and my muscle, but it's really not. And so I really enjoyed that passage. And then on top of that, I have several highlights I wrote down, but another one I really enjoyed was 558, which is human life is for self-realization, like you were saying. It's just so reassuring and reaffirming to hear that, because that truly is the thing that makes me feel like I have a purpose, is to and there's very few things that I can say make me feel like that. So thank you so much for the words.
Thank you for yours. We look forward to having you come and develop your preaching ability and learn how to give this knowledge to others and deliver others in Krishna consciousness. We look forward to that, enjoying that wonderful those events. I think that the essence of what you were saying, and the Prabhupada says it many, many times, that actually even renunciation is an illusion. That's what the wife of Bali Maharaj was telling him. You're self-deluded. You're thinking that you're giving your body as the last step, but that body doesn't belong to you. It never did. So, don't become proud of that. That's what made her more intelligent than him. So, we probably use the example, somebody goes into the Bank of America or some big bank, Chase Bank, and, declares that, none of this is mine. None of this money is mine. He's a madman, None of it wasn't mine. Wasn't mine. It wasn't his in the first place, and he's trying to act like he's some big renunciate, I thought it was very interesting how, I'll give one little reflection. I thought it was very interesting how, Prabhupada's purports were describing that, the person who is opulent as a result of devotional service is not an illusion, and that devotional, that opulence is to be considered given by the Lord. He's gotten his opulence by, turning his back to the Lord and trying to, then that opulence is illusory. It's given to by Maya. So if a person, and then Prabhupada said, if a person preaches, dedicates to preaching, then whatever that person needs will be, there. And he, remember in that one purport he was talking about himself, he didn't have anything. He got everything taken away. All his businesses failed, even though he was so expert. You can imagine what an expert manager he is. He spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world with a band of monkeys. No offense to any of my god brothers and god sisters, but we weren't hardly qualified to do what we did. But he empowered us, and he got things done that we couldn't imagine, even today. When we look back on it, it was like, how did we do those things? It was amazing. But Prabhupada was there in Vrindavan for 9 years with nothing, barely the cloth on his back did he have, and he made little notes of expenditures, and coming in, it was 1 rupee, 2 rupees, little fruit. Somebody gives him a rupee donation. That's the way it is in Vrindavan in those days. A rupee was like, somebody gave you a rupee donation, you could eat for the day. That's the way it was then. Nowadays, or a few paisa, you can't. The only thing you do with paisa coins now is throw it at the deity. They're the only ones that'll accept it. Even the beggars won't accept it. You give the beggars, they go, yeah, what is it? Give it to the monkey. Go trade this for some bananas or something. So Prabhupada was sitting there for 9 years, and everything was taken away. Business, family. He said, all I have is a list of names. where's this person and that person and this person and this thing and that thing. It's all just a list of names in my book, in my diary, you know. And then as soon as he was completely prepared, gradually gave him. Even when he came to New York, lived a whole year just by selling his own books. He lived for a whole year in New York City just by selling his books. And that, by the way, wasn't just one car. I read in the diary, the Jaladuta diary, it was actually 5 crates of books, because there were 200 sets of Bhagavatams he brought with him. Just all by himself he did that. 500 sets of Bhagavatam with no technology, no computers, no, printing presses and all these things. He just what he did was amazing. But it was so sincere and so destined, that at the end he used to joke, I went with 40 rupees, which was actually nothing because you couldn't even change it in America. You couldn't change rupees in America. But even if he could have, it was only, 8 rupees at the time. Now it's like 70 rupees for $1. In other words, only 8 rupees, so that means $5 at the most. Couldn't even get out of, the Port Authority with that much money. And then he was in India, he was giving a lecture, and he said, I started 10 years ago. I don't remember how many years, some years ago, with 40 rupees. Now I've got 40 crores worth of property. What businessman can do like that? So he was even flaunting, in order to preach, in order to impress these big materialists who ended up being the core of the movement in India, because that's the way they related, When he said, if I would just stay in Mayapur in that little hut that they built him in the beginning, he said no one would come, or I was living underneath a tree. He had a different mission. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, they lived underneath the tree because that was their mission given by the Lord. You go there and you write these books, and they were the basis of the spreading of Krishna consciousness all around the world, even to this day. So that's the relative concept of opulence and lack of opulence, renunciation. Prabhupada was the most renounced, and yet everywhere he went, no matter what country, wherever he was, he had hundreds of people greeting him with flowers, throwing, and conch shells blowing, and inconceivable, opulence. So many loving. There's a famous picture of him being introduced to the mayor of Geneva, or some official in Paris. I don't remember which one it is, but he's standing there with looking very aristocratic, and the guy who was supposed to be greeting him from the government was like this. And the picture, you remember seeing that picture? Yeah, and Prabhupada just looked like he was the king, and he was, greeting his subject, and he was actually getting, special, anyway. That was Prabhupada's opulence was unlimited. Because he didn't think anything belonged to him. He used every single fiber of his being and whatever he had in devotional service to Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, it's 10 minutes to 8. I couldn't record this morning because I blew my voice out completely yesterday. As I mentioned last night, it was true. I have my engineer over here, the sound engineer. He can attest to. So I've got to protect my voice now. Thank you very much, Nanga, for this nice drink. It worked. It feels better. So I have to take this tomorrow morning before we do.
Okay.
We have another little pot of it in the refrigerator. All right. Wait, we have something from the. Take a warm. Now, who is this?
It's Rati Manjari.
Rati Manjari. She's the steadiest commentator. She's like the queen of commentators,
She says, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Honestly speaking, I found tonight's reading quite multi-layered, poetic, and inspirational, but at times somewhat confusing. Sometimes the Bhagavat Marg is so exalted that it is beautiful to hear, but hard to grasp, and what to act upon. For example, you were glorifying the wife of Bali Maharaj as being very intelligent, but she was married to a demon. And she spoke out against her husband in public, which a chaste wife is not supposed to do generally. Another point which sounds contradictory is that first we get the idea that Bali Maharaj is exalted because he surrenders everything. But then we also heard yesterday that he did it out of a calculation not to lose his reputation by becoming a liar.
Well, those are very nice realizations. Thank you very much. I don't have anything more to say about that. That was perfect. The point is that Bali Maharaj thought that, but you can't always take a liberated soul at his word. Sometimes a liberated soul will say, I am the most fallen. When Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami approached Lord Chaitanya, they said, we are really fallen. I mean, you delivered Jagai and Madai, but they were born in Brahmin families, and they didn't do anything dastardly like us, like be born in a Brahmin family and then take on the service of Muslim government. And they were ostracized from all the Brahmin community, and they even looked like Muslims, and they didn't meet or anything, but they acted like Muslims. They became part of therefore they got their names changed, Dabir Khas and Sakra Malik. So there they are, the most exalted personalities, and we are less than, worms in stool. We are, and they were the most exalted persons that you can imagine. So sometimes devotees will even exaggerate, and that may confuse some materialistic people. But the pure spiritual personality is humble as a result of coming closer and closer to Krishna, and therefore seeing the difference between the Supreme Soul and the individual soul, infinitesimal and infinite. Therefore, the soul, even in the most exalted position, will feel the most humble. So that's why sometimes it may appear contradictory, that a person like Bali Maharaj will seem to, be doing something in order to show his reputation, to keep his reputation, because that reputation is as the exalted devotee. He got put in a position of Mahajan, one of 12 Mahajans in the history of the universe. Like Yudhishthira Maharaj, I mentioned this the other day. Yudhishthira Maharaj told Krishna, I want to be because Krishna asked him if he wants a benediction, because he was going to be, the king of the world. And he said, I want to be the most exalted person in the universe, the most opulent, the most exalted, the most famous person in the universe. And Krishna said, but my devotee doesn't think like that. What are you saying? And he said, yes, because then when I attain that position and somebody asks me, how did you do that? I'll just point to you and I'll say, by surrendering fully to him. So if you want anything, go and surrender fully to him. And in that way, his opulence is glorifying Krishna. So it appears contradictory, but it's not contradictory. Yes.
She had one more comment. I think you may have already answered it. It seems that Shukadev Goswami is cultivating our devotional intelligence by taking us through all these different conceptions, which are seeming contradictions, gaining access to higher and higher knowledge. It's fascinating. Could you please comment on this? Is there some superseding theme or themes which we are supposed to get from hearing the whole Bhagavatam?
Well, the Bhagavatam is meant to explain to us what Krishna's position actually is, and what our position is in relationship to Krishna, so that when we come to the 10th canto, when Krishna acts like a little boy, a cowherd boy, who's pinching babies and making them cry, and dancing with other person's wives in the middle of the night, and taking the clothes from the young gopis and seeing them naked, and all these things, then we won't make the mistake of thinking that he's just like an ordinary, lusty young boy. Because we'll understand, if you're properly hearing the Bhagavatam, and you're properly hearing the talk, then everything belongs to him. That's the purpose of the Bhagavatam, to expand our consciousness and fix it in the fact that everything belongs to Krishna. He can do whatever he likes, and he is not subject to chastisement or anything. He is glorified for anything that he does. When he runs off the battlefield, to do some, mission or something, he's worshipped as Ranchor, the person who left the battlefield, which a Kshatriya never does, and therefore, even the greatest philosophers and greatest personalities, they said, how can we worship you? You can't tell what you are. Are you a Kshatriya? Are you a Vaishya? Are you a king? Are you a saint? What are you? Nobody can figure out what he is. As a matter of fact, he said that to Rukmini. He says, I don't know why you married me. There are all these great souls that everyone knows clearly what they are, but nobody knows what I am. So to understand all that, one has to be fully aware, fully versed as to who Krishna is, and therefore the creation of the universe, how everything works, how all the demigods are his servants, how everything is meant for his pleasure, has to be done first, so that when you hear about Krishna in his highest form, in his original form, where he forgets that he's God, and his devotees forget that he's God, and they just play with him, and they have games running quickly to touch the first to touch him, and the one wins the battle, and somebody has to go. Krishna has to carry him on his back, on his shoulders, In order to understand those things perfectly, first of all, you have to worship the deity in total reverence. You're not going to jump on the back of Sri Sri Radha Nilamadhava and say, now I'm a spontaneous devotee, hey, get up, it's like, so, yeah, the purpose of the Bhagavatam, the purpose of devotional service is always to bring us to the point of the deepest respect from this position of being in the material world, so that we can go and play with Krishna as a spontaneous lover of Krishna, as his friend, or his lover even, or his wife, or servant, or even a parental figure where we chastise Krishna, take a stick, don't do that anymore. Krishna, he's the fear, he's feared by fear personified, but he's afraid of Mother Yashoda's stick, when she acts as his mother. So nobody can be Krishna's mother. So to understand these things, that's the purpose of the Bhagavatam. To be able to be eligible to go back and play with Krishna and be in a relationship with Krishna in one of these relationships that are here in the material world but are completely useless because they just go away like a will-o'-the-wisp, as we heard in these purports tonight. Okay, that's it, I'm going. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Bali Maharaj ki jai. Shri Vamana Dev ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's purports ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow night, same time, same station. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.